news, roundup, crowdfunding, everything all in one. Your usual weekly Saturday video. What has gone on in the past week? What am I talking about this week? And then what is upcoming next week? All rolled into one with some ever pleasant social commentary thrown in along the way as we are wont to do. Right? Let's just get right into it. Enough with the blah blahs and the blah blahs. Let's go. Star Wars, the deck building game. You interested? Star Wars, the deck building game. Not Unlimited. FFG's other forgotten stepchild of Star Wars. There was a leak this past week of a Clone War version. Now, no, unfortunately, it does not look like it is the ever sought after, clamored for expansion, but it appears that it's going to be a standalone that's mixable, matchable, and, you know, whatever else you want to do with it. Does that make you more or less intrigued by that? I don't know how I feel about it. Clone Wars, Separatists versus Republic, right? I mean, I guess it's better than the sequel trilogy, but at the same time, man, I'm still jonesing for some extended universe, right? Legends, right? Non-canonical. That's what I really, really want. But you know what? We'll deal with it, because the other thing that was just announced, DC United just put out their first update on their crowdfunding campaign by Simon. And, well, they announced about as much as you'd think, right? 2 new characters. Just kidding. I mean, the Flash and Lex Luthor. I mean, cool and all. They're going to be available to play in the next week. Only if you're in Italy, though. So, right? Take that for what you will. I mean, raise your hand in the comment section if you were surprised by the inclusion of Flash and Lex Luthor in a DC game, right? Reveal, not reveal. Now, we're still about 2 months out, so take that for what you will. And the 3 Simon campaigns that'll be launching between now and then, you can go check those out in the meantime. But, I mean, again, you heard me say it, right? I'm throwing money at this screen when that launches, so take that for what you will. Then we have another couple news in terms of announcements and newbies coming out around the block. The first up is going to be an Agemonia from Lotte Palit. I'm mispronouncing that French company's name, but we're going with the English pronunciation that's horribly incorrect and wrong, so I apologize. But a return to Agemonia coming soon on Kickstarter. No date yet, but they've got a Kickstarter pre-launch page. It's not a preview page. I hate it when people call it that. It's not. Well, you know, you're going to get more of the co-op game that's very expansive and being relatively well thought of so far, I guess, question mark. Speaking of more content, though, if you were interested in Frostpunk from Board and Dice or from the folks over at Glass Cannon Unplugged, we're getting a slight twist in the Frostpunk realm of things. Very IP based, but now 11-Bit Studios, Board and Dice, and Lockme are putting out, well, sort of a worker placement storytelling deduction version of Frostpunk in the scheme of a puzzle game from the Escape Tale series, set in, well, obviously that system. How is it going to work? Engaging puzzles, they say, storyline and decisions. Your ability to think outside the box is going to be tested. Right? 1 to 4 players. Does that intrigue you? Does it appeal to you? If you didn't get the other Frostpunk game, are you a big fan of the IP in the general? I mean, you can go check it out if you want. So we'll kind of see where that one goes. Going back to Agemonia, though, for a second, you know, let's talk about 2.0 versions just really quickly. Any of these big box campaign style games, errors abound, right? Madara, not excluded, right? One of my favorite ones. Isofarian Guard, Liege of Dungeoneers, Agemonia, all of these things just having, you know, upgrade kits that are necessary. So how do you feel about that being an early adopter? It's kind of okay, because I like the fact that they put out update kits. It's also freaking irritating at the same time. You know, as you're upgrading versions, I'm looking at you, Kingdom Death Monster, sitting in the closet. Oh, you have a 1 version, then you have a 1.1, and then a 1.3, and then a 1.5, and then a 1.6, but you can't always get the upgrade kits, so sometimes you just buy the new one if someone had the old one. So anyway, you don't need to hear any more about that. What else we got going on? Well, the other thing on the hotness, we'll cover this, Feudal Spiel, is putting out a new game later this year, and it's called Black Forest, and it's making the clicks and the waves over on BoardGameGeek. And basically what you're doing is you're building buildings and landscapes in order to get various accomplishments. They're going with Rosenberg's legendary resource wheels are making a comeback. Think Glass Road, if you're familiar with that one. And you're getting it in the Black Forest. Action selection, worker placement, and, well, exploration of the specialist abilities to collect resources and lay those landscape tiles down to build any one of 4 different types of buildings that are going to be at your disposal. So, I mean, does that intrigue you? I mean, I kind of like the theme, but is it really going to appeal to people as a whole? And the interesting thing to me from this aspect is I like the aesthetic, as you can see with the pictures, but I kind of like the fact that it's only a weighting rating of 2.6 right now. Hopefully that's accurate because it's more appealing to me from that aspect of things. I never really got into Black Glass Road, so I'm kind of intrigued to see what we can kind of see. Speaking of bigger boxes, though, as we were just talking about Agemonia and 2.0 versions and all of those things, Van Ryder is venturing into that style of game with the upcoming Q4 announcement of a new game called Tales of Myth and Legend set in ancient Greece and quote-unquote a paragraph book game for the ages. I mean, that's actually the quote. So simultaneous play of movement cards to determine how far you're going to travel and adjusting turn order. Sort of like a Glenmore 2, right? The furthest one in the back goes first, that sort of thing. And you visit a city or location, do an encounter, and, well, read what is going on there. Hidden components, surprises along the way, unlock at certain events. Ooh boy, hitting all the keywords. I mean, we'll see. It reminds me more of like a Degenesis style of things, or a Agents of Smersh, that one. Sort of more of Tales of Arabian Nights rather than a like crawl game. So how do you feel about that? Does that intrigue you as a whole, or is that just one that you're going, okay, you know, again, like really show me what you got, because it's troublesome now to tell which ones are going to be really of the most interest to you versus which ones are just going to not really soothe you the way you'd like to be rocked to sleep tonight, right? But I'm personally venturing further away from narrative driven stuff, right? I just don't have the appeal that it had to me as much even 3 or 4 years ago. So, Let's stay with that though. Let's stay with that narrative side of things, because Colossal Games just put out some more information on one of their flagships, Western Legends stories. So 2025 narrative twist on Western Legends, helping a frontier town become the beacon of civilization in the wilderness. 6 episodes that you're going to be navigating through while watching the settlement grow. Open world design with exploration and somehow another dynamic action system. Build, explore, carve your legend. I don't know. Again, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do with this? When you have the listing of episodic sort of situations, it sort of gives me maybe a slight more open world twist on a Pandemic Legacy. That's what it really kind of gives me. Or maybe like something like that with Mythwind, where you're just kind of progressing and opening it up. Ticket to Ride Legacy, anything along those lines. But there's not a whole lot of information right now. So speculate away. Crowdfunding later this year, Q3. So stay tuned for more details, because surprisingly, right, like middle of May here, folks, well, 2/3 almost at the time of me, airing this, which almost puts us just over a month away from Q3. So you could be talking early July as soon as then. You know what? Greek is the word of the week, because Triton Noir, the folks who bought you V Commandos as well as Assassin's Creed, have just announced their upcoming game as well, called God's Heist. Assemble your team, plan your heist, and plunder the ancient city of the gods in the Greek setting, inspired by Babylon and Olympus. So you're going stealing. So you are trying to get mythical artifacts held by the gods. Get your team of experts, go perilously, drafting, line of sight, hand management, cooperative, somehow all rolled into one. 1 to 4 players, 2 hours, 3 wait. No idea, right? What is going to be the dynamic experience that this is going to offer differently? Again, no information at the time of me filming this whatsoever. GameFound also just had a page pop up for Jim Henson's The Labyrinth 40th anniversary collection launching this summer. Revised rulebook, question mark? Well, I'm glad you're revising it if it wasn't good. New humongous, yeah, they use quotes, I use quotes, expansion. And don't worry, folks, you can get your exclusive miniatures to go along with it. You want more information? Too bad. That's all that's on the page right now over on GameFound. And it's coming from the folks over at Mantic. Intrigued? Does that hold any nostalgia for you? Doesn't for me, but I mean, 3,000 people are following it already on GameFound, so we'll see where it goes. I talked about this yesterday at the beginning of the roundup too, as covering it again. Wonders of the First CCG, the relaunch at $900,000 or so at the time of me filming this. They canceled their campaign, which had $1.6 million, and there was a little bit of confusion. They weren't even clear about it with the update. And so a couple other gaming news websites covered it, and I had to go over there and dig up some information. And basically, they were offering some sort of combo reward system with like NFT profiles. And I guess the company making the game has some NFT background and some quotes out there as, utilizing TCGs to puff up NFT prices, right? Too many abbreviations in a short sentence there. But that was sort of the contentious issue. So they canceled, they had to like eliminate some of that stuff, and then they relaunched, which is interesting because they got $1.6 million at the time of literally prior to them canceling, because otherwise Kickstarter was apparently going to pull it off. So they canceled right before that happened. And they've got most of their backing support left because, they still have about, nearly 2 weeks at the time of me filming this left in the second campaign here. Is it going to reclaim the momentum and the money that it got from the first one? This is the one that had about, like 4 tiers worth of stuff and like 6 or 7 rarities. And you could pay like $9,000 to get potentially one in all of the packs of the highest rarity. Like a lot of speculative market there. And so there was some concern about the AI use as well. And just are these artists, are these pictures of AI people? Are these all true people taking part of the campaign? And there was just a lot of question marks there. And so they relaunched it. And again, it isn't enough to turn people off, and they're okay with what they're putting out. So we'll see where it goes. And I don't really know. How do you feel about that? Last up, because I got an email about this, right? Have you heard of Zoop? No, not the other one, but Zoop. New crowdfunding website, an all-in-one pre-order, production, fulfillment, marketing solution for all of your needs. They had some hack and slash based game I got an email about. It was a marketing promo talking about the launch, and they've got something about like $9,000 of $20,000 raised. But really what Zoop is saying is that they're trying to do whatever they can to get a niche and get your favorite industries ported over to them instead, because they're trying to give you an all-in-one sort of conveyor belt of all of those aspects of the production, fulfillment, pre-order side of things that you may want. And I guess they've done okay. It's been a lot of comic book based, situations as a past. But like I said, there is the one game right now launched on it. It's a hack slash card game based system. So is that intriguing to you? As a publisher, I guess maybe. But as I said in my previous video talking about the difference between Kickstarter, GameFound, and BackerKit, and again, as a consumer, there is absolutely zero difference of me backing one on the other. This tribal warfare that one is better than the other is complete and utter bullshnikes, right? If you're a publisher, if you're a designer, again, there's obviously differences. There's obviously pros and cons. But as a consumer, right, there is next to zero difference. So I stand by that. That is a hill I will die on this channel. Say what I will, right? Liege foolish take number 22. But anyway, what else we got going on? What's upcoming on the crowdfunding this week? Truth be told, we got 3 big ones this week that are coming that are going to stretch your wallet, maybe, if you're tempted, among the 20 or so that I covered yesterday. But 3 that I've got my eye on. Rebirth, Mighty Boards, Kinesia Tile Layer. We've talked about it previously several times. Very intrigued by it. Want to see what it can offer, what it's going to entail, and how it's going to dramatically differ than other Kinesia Tile Layers. Because you know me, right? Like, I have a type. I say that, right? Like, my bias is towards those as a whole. I own pretty much all of them now. I got my Through the Desert copy from All Play as a backer, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. haven't even had a chance to sniff cracking it open as much as I want to, right? I have just been overwhelmingly saturated with other stuff I have to play for review copies and things like that right now. But that's one that is going to lead the way. I mean, again, just like Cascadero from Bitewing last year, I don't think it's going to break the bank. I mean, I hope it doesn't break the bank. I hope it doesn't overly deluxify, but I hope the price point is right. I mean, it's just what it is, right? Tile laying. I don't need deluxifications. I don't need coins. I don't need miniatures. I don't need any of that stuff with this. I want just solid production and a solid mother freaking game. That's all I want out of it. And I'm okay with just that. The second one, well, is Burnt Island's next offering. How to save a world. Working on your different asymmetric projects, trying to combine them all at once, whether that's a laser and energy shield or evacuating the planet as a whole with all the species you need to gather, trying to, well, do everything you need to do in a worker placement style before the planet gets destroyed. Does that intrigue you? Worker placement, hand building, resource management, cooperative. This very dynamic science fiction thrill ride as a board game. So we'll see what it offers us. There are a bunch of videos already on BoardGameGeek. There's about 6 preview videos right now on there, tutorials and previews. So if you want to go view a fair amount of that paid content right now, it's already available. And I will maybe be doing just that after this video because I'm intrigued by this one. I like the concept of this. Competitive is one thing, worker placement, right? I'm not, you guys know me. I've talked about this. Like my brain doesn't work well. I like some of them, but my brain just doesn't always, right? And so now turn it into a cooperative and somehow, my light bulb goes off. Wait. Light bulb goes on. And it just seems to click better for me. So I'm intrigued to see what this one can do. I want to know what the unique dynamics are, though, that are going to separate this out, apart from just worker placement. Is it going to be asymmetric? How are you going to be managing those projects? Are you going to be able to move around? What manipulation is going to be available to you? How are you going to be mitigating? All of those different aspects, I just kind of want to wait and see. And again, I guess, the playtime seems right. The weight has absolutely no weight rating on BoardGameGeek right now, but it looks like to be about an hour to an hour and a half, which is my perfect sweet spot from that aspect. Is it going to be just dynamically different enough from other cooperative games? What's going to be the twist? What's going to be the spin? And how well is it going to work as a cooperative, especially this last point, right? Like player count. Because a couple of the other cooperative harder games I played last year, how well do they scale? I want one that scales as well at 2 as well as 4. I don't need a 5 or 6 player expansion. You know that, right? 2 to 4. Show me what you got player count wise as well. What are the differences going to be there? How dynamically different is it going to be? And is it going to suit my needs from those side of things? Last up, thankfully, again, I think I've got this out of my system after reading the last update. CMON, going back to them, Degenesis Wars is launching next week as well. So it's Skirmish. It's based off of the IP. They're resetting it. All of the stuff out there, they said in the last update, it's like print and play, and you can read through some of the lore, and it gives you an update. And it's going to be launching on GameFound, and it's going to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're going to be exclusives, GameFound exclusives, but it's going to be that style of things like the Song of Ice and Fire. And so if it is exactly along those lines, I don't do like the line of sight measuring, grouping, point buying in terms of armies. That's just not really something I've ever been able to wrap my mind very well around. Again, not against it, but it'd be one of those where I'd say, okay, try before buy, before I really know how well it fits as well. So I kind of think it's going to be an easier pass than DC United. So we'll see. But again, that's one that, just like with Gods of War, Ragnarok, nothing would surprise me. I would be shocked if this didn't do 7 figures. At the same time, is this a Mordred as well? I have no idea the market for this. And again, I wonder about the GameFound versus Kickstarter. Skirmish games like that do really well on Kickstarter with the casual, just like I talked about this past week with the Thinning Veil. Different scope, and they went solo 2-player mode instead of multiplayer campaign game. Their first campaign during their second campaign, the first one got canceled, but it raised $116,000 before it got canceled, and the second one's sitting at about 30 right now. So scope is going to change things, but also casual browsing. And so I have absolutely no idea what this is going to do on GameFound. I just don't know. it's just a complete and utter unknown. There's some games that you can go, okay, this is going to do this. Oh, this is clearly going to, but this, your guess is as good as freaking mine. So let's go over the news and the hotness now. I mean, obviously the two big things you probably saw because Reddit has a hard on for them. No pun included, talking about Earthborn Rangers, and then Shut Up and Sit Down doing Slay the Spire, both of them giving glowing endorsements for the most part. And again, people were already very happy, it seemed like, on the consumer side of things. And now we have those aspects now that you can take into account as well. So, I mean, there is a pre-order for Slay the Spire. It's about $100, like at Game Nerds, if you're looking at that. Maybe it's already sold out at this point with them giving their endorsement. I think it was sort of a start endorsement as well. Basically saying, yeah, it's a good game, but it's also like freaking expensive for what it is too, as a deck builder. And I've heard people comment, like, if you like it, you're really going to like it. If you like the video game, you're going to like the board game. But was it doing dramatically different or new things? I didn't hear that aspect of things as much. So again, it was one of those, like I talked about this past week in my review of Euthia, right? Absolutely great game, but it might be best for someone else to own rather than you to own. So, you know, what else we got going on? Well, the BoardGameGeek Awards winners were announced. And you know what? I think I actually nailed a few of them. So again, what I thought was going to win versus what I wanted to win. And the reason we're segueing to this right now too is because a couple of these things are on the hotness because they won, right? 2-player. I told you Sky Team was going to win. I told you any of those could have been easily, debatably winners, but Sky Team has gotten purely and simply the most hype. I'd make the argument that Star Wars is just freaking fun. And Undaunted Battle of Britain is probably the most accomplished, well-designed, mechanically speaking game there. So that was done. I think I picked this one, actually, Castles of Burgundy, because of the artwork and presentation. But, you know, I can see why the runners-up were the runners-up there. Sky Team winning cooperative. Like, no, Earthborn Rangers. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but that and Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions, overwhelmingly, I think people play it as a 1-player game. You know, I know lots of people do 2-player or 3-player, but overwhelmingly, I think most people think of them as solo games. So I always feel weird when those are winning, like, cooperative things. Distant Skies, I haven't even gotten to my copy yet. Expansion, again, I think I may have gone with that one as well. Cascadia Landmarks just didn't hit quite the mark I was hoping. Hegemony, right? Innovative. I don't know how innovative it was. I can't speak to it. I know people liked it for doing something different from an asymmetric heavy standpoint, but was it truly innovative? Probably a bit. Light Game of the Year, I think I called that one with Thunder Road Vendetta. Earth Medium Game, I think I called that one too. Heavy Hegemony, I think I actually went with Dune because that was my #1 game from last year. Parties, I didn't know most of them, but my pick personally was Nekojima. It's glad to see like they got the runner up there. When that gets widely put out later this year at retail, I think it's coming to August from like Flat River as the publisher. You guys will like that one too. Print and Play was Waypoints from my friends over at Postmark, so I clicked on that one. Solo game, again, interestingly enough, that's probably the most surprising to me right there. Legacy of You compared to Earthborn Rangers, right? So that'd be the most interesting one there as an upset for me. People are going to argue that these aren't really war games, so I'm going to ignore that. Podcast, as people say in the comment section, when you win the podcast one, you're eliminated from contention next year. So what happens is they slowly, cycle through them, and so people are winning and they're doing great jobs with that, and so that's why you see that list changing every year. It's kind of a interesting situation how they do that. I understand it though. Apps, I mean, I have no idea, but Unmatched people like on the app too. So there you go, right? Any surprises there? Any really question marks? Any, completely whatevers? No, not really. Makes sense for the most part. Those are still on the hotness. Sand somehow from Devere is still on the hotness as well. I'm not sure why that one's trending so much. Black Forest I talked about earlier. The Oath from last week. Oath is New Foundations, which is launching in 2 weeks. We'll talk about that more next weekend in terms of expansion content and what it's bringing to the table. That is getting a bunch of clicks. Feudum with its GameFound campaign launching this week. There's a 7th anniversary from Odd Bird Games. And then Harmonies is still getting the clickers there from a light style of things. It's out of stock everywhere online, so you're trading for it or waiting for the reprint or restocking. Arcs is going to be delivering in the next month or so. I'll probably get mine in like the end of July, knowing how I am usually on the time frame side of things. Dune War for Arrakis with the recent announcement of the reprint, like I talked about last week, is still getting clicks. Indonesia, I think, is getting a new pre-order from Splatter. And then White Castle with their expansion last week as well. And that pretty much rounds things up. Rove, the other crowdfunding project that launched this past week, is getting a few clicks as well. But otherwise, your top is pretty much the same as a whole. The only other one that's sort of slinking down near the bottom is the 7th Citadel, which is going to be doing another campaign at the beginning of June here. I actually just got my review copy of 7th Citadel in the mail today. Yeah, you didn't know I was going to be reviewing that, did you? Spoilers! But I am. So that's going to be coming out soon too. So that is the hotness right now. How does that sound to you? Anything intriguing? Anything new to you? Anything interesting? A little bit of everything, but we'll kind of see where things go too, because unfortunately still the hotness, in like 3/4 of the hotness is usually the same from week to week, right? There's small variations, but there's not usually huge variations. So we'll see. What do you think? How was your week? Where were things at? I need to do my best of April video soon, and I'm finishing up the crowdfunding look back. So that's what I've got on my horizon, and I'm going to have a review out at the beginning of this coming week. 2 games right now. Spoilers, right? Spoilers, teaser. 2 games that might be in my top 10 of 2024. Ooh, them's big words, folks. Them's big words. And they're available. You know it. Okay, that's all I got. I got to go eat some oatmeal because I eat oatmeal at nighttime. I'm weird. So that's all I got. Have a great day. Stay classy. See you guys around. Thanks for watching. Sub if you made it this far, question mark. We're slowly creeping up. I don't know, 10,000 something. I don't pay attention. It's better for my mental health. See ya.